This is Dr. Flight. It's good to see you again. And we're going to talk a little bit more about organizational purpose and what the role of or what the purpose of an organization is. And we'll start by reviewing and just walking through an example of mission. And one of the takeaways I hope we're able to kind of evolve into is this idea that organizational purpose can be defined in a lot of different ways. Traditionally, we would define the organization's purpose if it's a business to return what we might call shareholders' equity or return a profit to its owners, which is pretty straightforward and has been more or less the driving force in terms of purpose or mission for organizations for a very long time. And even today, there's no doubt that is, the reason why investors invest and the reason why owners own is to have a return on their investment. And so if that's not a goal that we're striving to have, then very quickly investors will be less excited to invest. And so then that impacts growth opportunities, and there's a whole lot of bad things that happen at that point. So we don't want to exclude the notion that we want to return shareholders' equity and wealth and grow that as a component of what we do. But the bigger and broader question today is, how do we do that, one, and are there other purposes that might also weigh into the mix where we might be willing to also pursue some other purpose or other purposes in addition to clearing a profit and bringing ownership equity as well. So and again, it kind of goes to how you define yourself and how you define the reason why the business or organization exists. So if we step back and look at that mission statement one more time, we can begin to dissect that purpose. And so in a mission statements are typically fairly short and they don't capture always an enormous amount of information. So extending that to purpose helps when we ask questions like, who are we? Who are our customers? And more so who our customers are, but who do we serve? What audiences do we serve? What audiences gain value from our activities? What is our operating philosophies, our basic beliefs, our values, and our ethics? If you engage in a business venture, but you don't hold yourself accountable to certain basic beliefs as in a belief system as an organization, that can be challenging. It can be challenging to recruit employees and to define yourself in the marketplace. What are our core competencies or our competitive advantages? Like, what is it about us that makes us unique? What is it we do well? And if it's a distinctive competency, not just a core competency, but a distinctive one, it's what do we do well that others do not do well? That's unique to us. What are our responsibilities with respect to being a good steward of human, financial, and environmental resources? So this is going to come back in a model that we'll see here in just a minute. But we have certain goals and objectives. Again, the mission should be to achieve those goals and objectives with some type of balance or whatnot. Brand missions, we've looked at this before, and these tend to be fairly short, but think of them also as a generalization of everything we represent, everything we want our brand or company to be known as. We have an example of Patagonia. There are some readings and videos on Patagonia. It's very well known in terms of their ethos, their operating philosophy towards using resources. Resources is a big thing with them. and that build a best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use the business to inspire, and implement solutions to environmental crises. So that's kind of says a little bit more than we're just going to be a clothing company, right? Nike to inspire an innovation to every athlete in the world. Asterisk, if you have a body, you're an athlete. Dove, empower women to embrace their own beauty. Right? Apple, to empower creative exploration, self-expression. Again, all of these don't really deal with a product or even a product category. Don't really talk about the business that they do. It's how they do the business and what their business means. Like what is their purpose? That's really what these are more purpose statements, if you will. Coca-Cola, to refresh the world, to inspire moments of optimism and happiness. Google, to organize the world's information and make it available, universally accessible, and useful. So, from all of these, think of the millions of different products you could create using these concepts and statements to better, whatever it is, whether it's making information more accessible or helping people realize their physical optimals in athletics, to inspire people, to help people be creative. These are all platitudes, if you will, but they're also kind of the building blocks of purpose, and what a purpose is. So I mentioned earlier we'd come back to a short model, and this is just a short little video to talk again kind of that perspective of building, kind of the reason why you're in business, not what you do, but why you do it. System of monitoring kind of how you behave would be the ESG planning model, and ESG, E stands for environmental, S for social, and then G for governance. Passing the test, the ESG test, suggests that you have a balanced outlook on growth and the expectations of how you're going to do business. And so it's kind of a check and balance. Now, this idea of the ESG is not universally kind of accepted out there, or not so much accepted, but it's not universally applied, I guess, is a good way to think about that. And I'm not saying it necessarily should be universally applied. It's just one way to think about being purposeful in your pursuit of achieving your business goals. And I think that's an important way to think about markets, especially. There's a lot of transparency nowadays in how consumers view their brands and the products that they use. And if you can't show consumers this level of purpose, then a lot of consumers will begin to question whether they want to be a customer of yours or not. Digging a little deeper into Patagonia, again, they have multiple missions over time, but I want to kind of jump to their core values. They've updated these, and they used to have 4, now they have 5. Quality, integrity, environmentalism, justice, and this idea of not being bound by convention. So they have a mission, but their core values would be their reflection of their ethics and their kind of moral compass, if you will. And, if they make a business decision that violates or impairs one of these, then it would be violating or impairing one of their values. As imagine if you're a person and you have a value system and you do something to violate it. You'll feel guilty, you'll feel regretful, you'll avoid circumstances where you would be in a case to violate that level of ethics or whatnot that you have. And so this is the kind of the same thing with a business or organization, that the business, and there's more and more, there are court rulings suggesting this, and there's more and more evidence that a business or organization is humanistic in the sense that it's a group of people. It's not just a business charter like a legal document. It is that, but it's also individuals and people have value systems, and those value systems become embedded in the organization. So for Patagonia, it's very clear, and they make very open kind of what they do. And if they don't do this, then the expectation is a customer can call them out on it, or an employee can question why they're doing a certain business practice if it violates one of these things. So you may want to pause this and look through these a little bit more. What does quality mean to Patagonia? To build the best product, provide the best service, and consistently improve everything we do. Now, one of the things that you should know is Patagonia's products are exceptionally well made, and they're intended to last literally generations. They would be very disappointed if they had a Patagonia product that failed and a customer had to throw it out and buy a new one. That would be a big failure in the minds of product quality for Patagonia. Integrity, examining our practices openly and honestly, learn from our mistakes and meet our commitments. So there's something about integrity, doing things right, the right way. Environmentalism, so no doubt this is one of those companies that, that is kind of one of the things they do. Protect our home planet. So I don't think we have a visiting planet yet, but our home planet, I guess, is the one to protect at this point for them. And, it's really a resource issue, like where do resources come from? And they're very careful and conscientious about the resources used to produce one of their products. And they'll let you know that if you buy a coat, the cost of that coat is X number of resources. So don't buy another one. Use this one over and over and over again, and when you're done with it, give it to somebody else so they can use it. It's basically the idea that they strive for. Justice, be just, equitable, anti-racist as a company. Now, this is certainly something they've added in the last recent years. And whether it's a knee-jerk reaction type thing, or if it's truly a kind of a moral compass thing, I suspect the latter. I suspect that they are genuine in their positioning of their brand towards pro-justice and social equity types of issues, and that's a good thing, of course. And then the last one is not bound by convention. So being willing to do their own thing despite what the industry is doing, despite what culture is doing, despite what technology may say, and so much, and so on and so forth. So being creative and things like that. So now, this is, of course, beyond mission, right? This goes to their core values, and it explains their purpose, why they exist, and how they're going to continue further do business. Okay, the last thing that I'll leave you with is, again, just a visual. Again, please feel free to stop this if you want, that digs a little deeper in this idea of environmental, social, and governance, kind of a balanced approach to doing business, kind of identifying and specifying how you're going to do business. Environmental, in this case, is an entire third of this circle. I don't think that's the case for most companies, but social is a big issue. Think about, like, from a social perspective, labor standards, which is on there, human rights, health, safety, being able to pay people equitable wages, thinking about your supply chain and where in your supply chain violations of these natures happen, and then correcting those in your supply chain. Governance, absolutely, kind of this idea of being transparent with anti-corruption, working with an internal set of rules that work and that are responsible and such. Being fiduciary in being careful in how you handle fiduciary nature of business, so that you don't run the business into the ground and go out of business because you can't handle money, because you can't balance the books and such, and things like that. Okay, so there's kind of the doing the right thing in a lot of ways, a lot of different ways here. This sort of model helps you really focus on some of that stuff. So, all right, this short video, again, I just wanted to kind of touch base a little bit on and enter the world of purpose. a little bit more and understand that there's something called the purpose-driven organization. And to a great extent, we've covered kind of why and how important it could be as firms decide to build their business plan and do their organizational planning. All right, thanks. Have a great day.